Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I hope everyone is safe and taking care during these really uncertain and tough times. My name is Pranali from the Broadcast India show, which is organized by Nürnberg Messe India. And I would like to extend a warm welcome to all of you attending our webinar today on live sports production, changing the rules of the game post-COVID era. Let me first start by thanking our partners for this webinar. That's LiveU and ARK Infosolutions for their support in putting this together. For a sports fanatic country like India, this is going to be a really interesting session where we will probably get insights into how a live sporting event works and some behind the scenes action on how exactly it comes to us when we watch it on our screens. Let's get right to it, and let me introduce our speakers for today. We start with Mr. Yaal Eshel, who is the General Manager at LiveU Asia, managing worldwide sales and customer support and leading the company growth and expansion to newer markets. He has served in the Israeli Air Force and holds a BSc in Industrial Engineering from the Tel Aviv University. He will be joined today by Mr. Ophir Zardok. He is the Sports Business Development at LiveU. Mr. Zardok leads the sports strategy in the EMEA and the APAC region, working hand in hand with sports organizations, production companies, broadcasters, and media companies. He's also the UEFA Venue Director since 2009, where he leads a team that implements the UEFA Champions League and the UEFA Europa League matches across Europe. Before I hand over to Mr. Eshel, just one note to all our attendees, we do have a question answer session after this. So if you can leave your questions in the Q&A tab, we will get to them as soon as we are done with this session. Okay, Mr. Eshel, the screen is yours.
Okay, thank you very much. Very happy to be here, and thank you to Broadcast India giving us this opportunity to present our sports solutions to the India sports market. So as I was introduced, my name is Yaal Eshel. I manage LiveU Asia. Actually, most of the presentation will be done by my colleague Ophir Zardok, who is heading the sports business development for LiveU. But I would just like to start with a short introduction. Before we go into the presentation, I would like to show you a 1-minute clip just to give you a feel of what we are talking about. We're talking about remote production and sports production. So I hope you can see this video in a good quality.
Australia's best snowboarders. Switch 360 onto the rail. Oh! Josh Anderson. Oh! Luke Snowden. Let's hear some noise.
So, how did we do it? We had a small team of 3 on the mountain at Mount Buller capturing the action. Each camera operator had a LiveU bonded streaming unit that splits and sends the video data via multiple 4G and 3G networks. With only 1 second delay, it makes its way across the country to our Adelaide office, where the dedicated server pieces each video back together and automatically synchronises them with LiveU's precision timing. Our video switcher and live director cut those videos, add commentary, music and graphics, then output the final product to Facebook Live. Ta-da! Thanks to LiveU's plug-and-play solution to at-home production, professional broadcasting is easy and affordable for our clients, even in remote areas.
Okay, so Ophir, can you please share the presentation? So what you saw here is just a small short introduction of remote production done with LiveU. You will see in this presentation. So this presentation, you will see many more examples and more information, but I just wanted to start by showing you how it looks like. So today we're going to talk about LiveU sports and changing the rules of the game in the post-COVID-19 era. Ophir, next slide, please. So we'll talk about today's challenges. We'll talk about the COVID-19 effect, what has changed in the market, in the technology, and what is our suggested solution, which is remote IP-based production. And in the end, we'll show you a few more use cases of how this can be done. So before going into the sports subject, for maybe some of you are not familiar with LiveU, although I'm sure all of you have been seeing a lot of content provided by LiveU. So LiveU has been a market leader in the news industry for over 10 years. And our backpacks, as we call them, you can see one of these backpacks on the right-hand side in the picture, are also very popular in the Indian market, with all major broadcasters using the solution. In this case, I think it's a Times Now a news event broadcasted by LiveU Backpack. So these are just a few of the customers in India using our solution, most of it for news. We have more than 100 TV customers in India. All of the big names, all of the TV channels that you are watching, all of them are using very significant amount of LiveU backpacks for every live coverage that they need, mostly for the news. But what we see is that we are more and more starting to use LiveU not only for news, but also for sports production. So really, 2 words about our technology. So this is the famous backpack that you see on the back of the cameraman. The camera is connected to the backpack, and the backpack is transmitting the video over multiple networks, cellular networks, IP networks, Wi-Fi, etc. The video goes to a decoder, either in the studio or the cloud, and from there broadcasted over the air to the TV or to CDN, to the internet. LiveU actually invented the patent of bonding. We have a patent worldwide and also in India, and we are also using what we call LRT, which is the live reliable transport, which means that the video is reliable even if the network is not reliable. So this is the heart of our technology. And after we have proven our technology for many, many years in the news industry, we are now bringing the same technology into the sports production industry, because now the quality and the reliability of the solution is already good enough to cover leading sports events that require higher quality and higher reliability than regular news events. So with this introduction, I would like to pass the presentation to Ophir that will walk you through our solutions and case studies for sports productions. Ophir, please.
Thanks, Yaal, and thank you, Broadcast India, for hosting us in this great webinar. I'm really excited to be here, and hopefully, I really hope so that we will be able also to meet in person in the next couple of months. So a few words about myself. I've been working in the sports industry since 2005, when I graduated from the FIFA Master. I was acting as a chief executive of Drogheda United, which is the League of Ireland champions. And as mentioned before, I've been producing Champions League and Europa League matches all over Europe in the past 10 years. And 2 years ago, I joined LiveU to head the sports business development side. Sports is not new to LiveU. We've been working with some of the biggest sports brands in the world. As you may see, we work with FIFA, with the NBA, with NFL. We're also working with sports production companies like HBS, Gravity Media, and some others, as well as with sports broadcasters like BT Sports, Fox Sports, around the world. So we've been really acting well in this area, and we are now increasing our presence in the sports industry. Working in the sports industry for so many years, we've learned that there are a lot of challenges within the sports production, and we like to share with you what we recently learned. Okay, I think that first of all, there is an increasing demand for sports content. Everybody is now online 24/7. Everybody has access to screens and they're online. Therefore, they need more content. It's not just the top tier content they are looking for. They are looking for second tier and third tier content, and there's a need to fulfill this gap. Having said that, the cost of production won't reduce because the increased demand for content. Actually, the cost is a real challenge for a lot of sports production companies, sports producers, mainly for the reason that doing traditional multi-camera production. So what we can see that looking at the main cost elements of sports production, we see that there's the transmission side, satellite operational costs, bringing OB-VAN on site. There's the need for many people coming on site. It's high expenses for traveling, flights, accommodation, transportation, taking a lot of people on site for several days. There's a long setup time with the cabling, deploying a different type of infrastructure. If you're looking, for instance, at golf, doing all the RF cameras, sometimes you need to connect the venue with fiber optics. That takes a long time, and of course, very expensive. It costs a lot of money. And I think that one of the key things that we also see is the low asset optimization, meaning that the OB-VAN and the team used to produce only one event, which is the event the OB-VAN is in presence. Instead of using the same team for multiple events, that's a huge challenge. And then, of course, another challenge that we see is covering the events from different angles. Today, as I mentioned before, there is increasing demand for sports content, and we are looking at different type of sports, and we like to take and cover every angle, even in the challenging places like you see in this picture. Last but not least is the possibility to engage the viewers. As everybody talk about the Generation Z, about the younger audience, how you want to keep them involved. They don't like to watch a full game. They don't like the full event. They like to be part of the event. They like to participate. They want to take part of the action. So that was kind of something, that happened before the COVID-19. And now we had another layer, another complexity, which is the COVID-19. Everybody, suffering from that. And how does it affect the sports production, the sports world? Of course, 95% of the leagues and sports events are in a shutdown. Thankfully, a few leagues are now coming back, of course, with extra precautions, specific regulations and rules about how to produce the games. People in organizations are now in a survival mode. It's very difficult for them at the moment to think long-term, to invest in equipment and do long-term plans. And then, of course, it's the biggest crisis that sports ever experienced before, even bigger than the one in 2008. And there are another elements to it. For example, with the social distancing, they need to minimize the amount of people coming on site to be involved in the production. And then, of course, the slowdown in the economy. Everybody predict that there will be now a recession, a huge recession. And how can you do all of that with all these challenges? So what has changed, and how we can overcome these challenges? First and foremost, as we see it, the cellular networks are now improved tremendously. The revolution of the 3G, 4G, 5G coming, resiliency of the cellular towers. We see that in extreme weather conditions, sometimes satellites cannot transmit, and we see that the cellular towers are still resilient enough, and they have the power to continue and produce. And then, of course, the internet connectivity is now reliable, and you can use it for commercial purposes quite easily. The next thing is also involvement in the technology of the encoding, how we compress and transfer the video, the content from point A to point B. For example, we use the HEVC protocol in order to compress the video by actually even more than twice in order to deliver video content in a much better way than it used before. And that's really crucial in sports production, mainly because we are talking about contentious areas where you have a sport event and you want to make the production there. That's a challenge, and you really need to be in the edge of the technology. So this is an example for what you can see here on the right, how we can compress a video with 1 megabit per second with HEVC compared to H.264. You can see how we can actually transmit much better quality of a video than before. And that's thanks to the improvement of the technology. Today, we can reach 70 megabits per second. And with this kind of bitrate, you can actually deliver 4K in a very good way, very quality way. And then, as we mentioned before, the viewing habits were changed. People want to be part of the event. They want to participate. They want to be on the driver's seat. Just to give you a little bit of feeling, what does it mean to be in the driver's seat? What we see recently is that the viewers want to be part of it. And from the production point of view, it doesn't mean that you have to spend fortune like in Formula One to do this kind of production and spend millions. You can do it quite easily in a very cost-effective way. So all these challenges actually raise the question and how can it be done more effectively? How can we reduce the cost and bring more content to the viewers, how more people can enjoy that? And we believe that remote production is the key for that, remote production over IP. And that means that instead of bringing the studio to the field, we bring the field to the studio. So the uplink is no longer the main cost. We use either the cellular network or the internet, which is available in the venue. We can produce more content at a much lower cost. And especially these days when we're in the COVID-19 period, where we want to keep the social distancing, and we've been doing several sports events production in different parts of the world during the COVID-19, and we see that there is an increased demand to keep the people involved in the production safe and healthy, and to minimize the amount of people coming on site. So when we are talking about remote production, we mean that the only thing that we need in order to do a remote production is basically sending a cameraman with a backpack, maybe a floor manager, taking the footage from the ground over the cellular network in this example, transmitting the feed over to the studio. There are people in the studio that doing whatever can be done on site, but instead of doing it on site, they do it remotely from the studio. All the graphics, certain cases, even the talents that commentating the event can be in the studio instead of being on site, and doing this entire production remotely in a very, very cost-effective way. And now we can also see that that can be done even in a much easier way with, for example, one production unit doing multiple cameras and transmitting top-level, high-quality feed from the ground to the studio to do this high-quality production. Just to simplify it, as you can see, the flow, very smooth, very straightforward. There are the cameramen in the field transmitting the feed over to the people in the studio. They do all the production, the post-production, and then just transmitting it over in different ways to the viewers at home. So that's the concept of the multi-camera production. And what we like to do now is to share with you a few use cases that we've been doing recently. The first one is a second-tier sports event in Africa. It's a rugby, the qualifiers for the Rugby World Cup. There was a need for a production from multiple locations, thousands of kilometers away from each other, and there was only one remote studio actually to capture all these footages and produce the event. Let's see the video.
We received a brief from Rugby Africa to help broadcast and stream a couple of their international rugby games. In order for us to meet the brief, we needed to come back with a cost-effective premium solution. So we needed to look into the future, and we looked at partnering with LiveU.
When Moonsport first mentioned the idea and what they wanted to do using LiveU and sport from across Africa, I thought it was extremely ambitious, but I knew that it was technically possible.
Using LiveU as a source feeding a camera feed to a studio thousands of kilometers away was definitely an incredible experience.
The whole advantage of LiveU is that you simply fly into a venue, you plug your camera into the pack, and you turn the pack on.
We never had any latency issues. All cameras were always in sync. From a video side, we had full communication with camera crew, and that is fantastic.
To be honest, I thought it was going to be a very challenging experience, but it's made easier by the fact that the cameras were perfect every single time. The feed was immaculate.
Or the Remy studio allows you to have minimal crew, and it's equivalent to running an OB facility.
I would traditionally have had to travel across Africa to broadcast these matches, which can take up time, and obviously the costs involved are tremendous. So the traditional aspects have definitely changed.
The excitement when those first images came through, and they were clean, they were crisp, sharp, and it worked. It was hugely exciting.
The delivery and the production itself surprised many. People that didn't know that we were filming from 5,000 or so kilometers away wouldn't know the difference. And to us, that is the success of this product.
It is the future of sports broadcasting on every level.
This Remy studio will allow Moonsport to take on more than one production on a daily basis.
It's a game changer for broadcasting going forward. It really has opened my eyes and swayed me in a way that's going to change broadcasting forever.
Yeah, so that's this use case actually is quite a good one, because practically without doing the remote production over IP, this event couldn't be broadcasted because it was so expensive to do this kind of production. And just to give you a little bit more of behind the scene of such an event is all the part around the cameras shading, camera control units, all the radio, the return video, and tally light. All these things can be easily done remotely with the over IP. These things are done quite smoothly with our equipment. The second use case that I like to share with you is actually from Japan. What we recently saw is that a lot of golf tournaments using LiveU equipment. As you can imagine, doing 18-hole production is quite expensive. Deploying all the RF around the golf field is extremely expensive. And then, of course, connecting the venue, the golf course by fiber or satellite is taking a lot of cost as well. So in this case specifically, which happened in Japan, I'd like to share with you this video as well.
回で、第2回の大会になるんですけど、UUUMゴルフ自体こう本当にゴルフの楽しさをもっとこう身近に感じてもらいたいっていうようなことをテーマにやっているチャンネルで、うちのこの大会の特徴としてはプレーしている選手にすごい近づいてプレーの内容であったりとか選手の声であったりとかを届けるっていうところが楽しめるような大会になってるし、なかなか他ではやってないようなポイントなのかなと思っております。今回沖縄で大会を行ったんですけど、やっぱどうしてもじゃあ本格的にやろうと思ったらじゃあ機材を沖縄に持ってきてとか、人を派遣してとかっていうところで、コストであったりとか実際、大人数のスタッフが必要になると思うんですけど、今回リモートでテロップ出しのお願いとかスイッチの切り替えとかっていうところで本当に最小人数で高クオリティなことができて本当に良かったなと思っております。昨年のトーナメントの時は本当に携帯一つで、ずっとやっていて、どうしてもやっぱり音が聞こえづらいとか技術的な面でいろいろ問題があったんですけど、今回 LiveU さんを使うことによってカメラに、しっかりとした機材につないで音声の問題であったりとか、こうズームしたりとか本当にこう改善されてしっかりこうカメラをいいカメラで撮れるような形になったので本当に感謝しております。
Cool. So, Yaal, shall we present another use case, maybe the Cape Epic?
Maybe I'll share. I saw that there are some questions here on the chat.
Okay.
Asking about audio commentary and how can the director talk to the cameraman. So maybe I can jump to one slide just to expand a little bit about it, and
sure.
We are going to ask more questions as well in the chat. So if you can stop sharing for a second, and I will share one slide.
Absolutely.
Okay, so just sharing one slide here. The LiveU solution includes many production tools that can help you to do the production. So first of all, we have a tally light that is connected to the switcher and shows when you are live. We have a video return that allows you to send video from the studio to the field. So that actually the person in the field can see what is happening at the studio or any video that he wants to see, and can use that in the production. And we have what we call Audio Connect. We have two-way channels. So actually the producer can talk with the cameraman and with the talent on two different audio channels, and both of them are two-way audio channels. And in addition to that, we also have embedded audio in the SDI. We have up to 16 audio channels embedded in the video. So there's a very wide range of production tools that allows you to really have a very efficient production.
Do you want to continue answer questions, or shall we do another use case?
Yes, I think we have time. We can do another use case. And guys, if you have more questions, please continue to write in the chat, and we will answer all the questions in the end.
Another interesting use case that we like to share with you is the Cape Epic, which is a mountain bike competition, happens in South Africa. Basically, as we call it, it's the Champions League of the mountain bike competition. It's the toppest mountain bike competition. Before us, that competition was extremely expensive to produce. And since we stepped in, a lot of other mountain bike competitions approach us to do their productions. Let me give you a quick
The Cape Epic is such a vast, uses such a vast area, so covering it for live TV is just, it's a major operation. LiveU put their hand up and said they want to come on board. They brought the technicians in, they brought the latest LU600 units in, it's a new HEVC standard, and it's been amazing. So with very little reception, we've actually managed to get fantastic pictures out.
It has been unbelievable, the coverage. I mean, we've been able to watch the riding as much as possible, and it's really, really worked well.
We've just made it possible for, you know, the fans of mountain bike racing to be able to watch and follow their riders live online. So it's quite an achievement. We're really excited.
Contact with the OB van the whole time, so you know where you are, you know when they come live to you, and it's easy to use. Like I say, you actually really do forget about the device on your back, especially with us chasing the front road. These are the best mountain bikers in the world, so we don't have a lot of time to stop on the road and change stuff, and the device behaves itself 100%.
Rock solid. There's just no reason that we can't do what we want to do. As long as we got coverage, we can create any angle that we want to do.
With the camera on board of the e-bike, it's just crazy.
It doesn't get better. You can't get closer to the action.
This unit is absolutely amazing, and it has definitely changed the industry for live broadcast. And we've captured some amazing shots in valleys and between mountains. We've never been restricted with anything. This is absolutely brilliant. We could carry on as it is, as usual, and we know that the picture is getting out there.
As a director standing in the OB, the choice was absolutely unbelievable. The choice from the helicopter, from the motorbikes, the visuals were stunning, it was clear, absolutely amazing.
It just opens up the canvas, and creativity belongs to you.
Looking at this event, I'm ready to go out to take my bike and start riding here.
Yaal, you were on site there. Maybe you can walk us through the workflow.
Okay. Yeah, so what you can see in this slide, this is actually the deployment that we had. Actually, for some reason, I see the slide a little bit out of focus. Maybe it's the internet connectivity. So what you can see on the left side, oh, now it's better. Yeah, on the left side, you can see the LiveU units, actually 5 or 6 different units, one on a helicopter, few on e-bikes, electric bikes ridden by professional riders, one on a motorcycle, and also a few what we call LU Smart, which is the LiveU application that you can install on the mobile phone and transmit high quality video using Wi-Fi plus cellular networks together. So all of this was streamed in real time to the studio. The studio in this case was on site. So it had a LiveU receiver in the studio. All the production was done in this studio, taking feeds, doing switching, adding graphics. They also had a studio where they interviewed the riders. And when they had the finished product, they actually also used the LiveU equipment to send the feed from the OB van to the cloud, to Facebook, to YouTube, but also to TV channels like Super Sports and ETV and Olympic Channel that were using this feed to go live on television. So this was the deployment of a bike race, but you can do a production of any amount of cameras that you want. There's actually no limitation of the number of units that you can use, and all of them can be terminated on a LiveU decoder in the studio. And this way you can do very professional productions for different kinds of sports.
Cool, thanks. Maybe we can discuss what we like people to take away and then go for answers.
Yes, so the main takeaways I think from this session, first of all, is that now, because of the things that Ophir mentioned about the cellular networks and the internet and the encoders, the uplink is not a bottleneck anymore. So we don't need to use expensive satellite or fiber. You can actually use cellular and IP transmission, and which makes it much more flexible and much lower cost. And they are actually very, very reliable. The LiveU units are using 8 different SIM cards together. It means that it's using multiple networks. So even if one network does not work, the unit will still work. In a satellite or fiber, usually you have one single point of failure. The idea is that instead of bringing the whole studio to the field, we can actually, at a lower cost, bring all of the feeds to a remote studio and reduce the cost of the production and make a much better use of the production facility to make many, many more events at the same time. So this makes live production much more affordable, and now we can produce not only the tier 1 games where it's a $1.5 million production, but we can also do tier 2 and tier 3 sports, moving sports, extreme sports, anything that is interesting for audience, it's possible to produce with this kind of technology.
Cool. So yeah, we intentionally left time for questions. So maybe now we can go to the questions part of the session.
Yes.
Thank you. Sorry to cut you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Please go ahead.
Thank you so much, Yaal and Ophir. That's been truly an insightful session. We have a few questions from the audience that we have. And before that, I would just like to introduce Mr. Manoj Madhavan, who will be moderating this Q&A session for us today. He is the editor of Broadcast and Film, which is the official online publication for the Broadcast India show. Manoj, over to you.
Fantastic presentation, Yaal and Ophir.
Thank you.
So the key takeaways are remote production is the key, and we got to bring the feed to the studios. So India as a country thrives on 2 kinds of entertainment. One is sports and the other is movies. So we have a few interesting questions lined up. The first one, which I would like to know, in which sports can we use this kind of remote production using mobile GSM networks?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think that when we are looking at the sports, in principle, we can do all type of sports with no restrictions. However, when we are looking at the movable sports, where we have a clear advantage doing such a production with LiveU equipment, which we believe there's no other way to do it in a very cost-effective and smart way. So everything which is, as you saw, mountain bike, motorbike competitions that we already involved, WRC, you know, the one of the biggest car rallies is done by LiveU. And then, of course, moving over to golf, we see a lot of golf productions done with LiveU, especially because of golf production is quite expensive unless you really do it in a smart and cost-effective way. And then everything which is on a fixed venue, using our equipment makes a lot of sense, especially now that we recently introduced a brand new product that can easily do this kind of.
Okay, so we have another interesting questions. Do you have plans to add video switching and audio mixing functions as well as part of production system LU800?
Yeah.
And does LU800, LU200 support tally over IP?
Yes. So first of all, yes, all of the new products of LiveU supports tally over IP. And regarding the switching, so in the LU800, which is our latest product, we actually can transmit 4 cameras simultaneously, and we can either transmit all of the feeds together. For that, you need quite a high bandwidth, depending on the quality of the video. But you can also switch between the feeds in the field. So let's say you don't have enough bandwidth, you can connect 4 cameras and do the switching and send only one high quality feed. And you can do this switching from the unit itself, but also from the studio using our cloud-based management platform. You can select which feed to transmit. So all of these options are possible with the LiveU 800, yes.
And multiple venue matches. What happens if there are 3 matches in 3 different venues at 3 different times, one after the other? Where will the production crew be based?
That's a really good question. And I think that this entire concept of the remote production, where you can actually utilize the same team which is based remotely, which is basically, you know, can be anywhere in the world. As you can see, you know, in our use case in rugby in Africa, the studio was in Johannesburg, and the matches were in Nairobi, in Nigeria, in Ghana, anywhere around the world. And the crew was just traveling around these places with a camera and the LiveU unit. So that's the principle, the essence of remote production over IP.
So there's another interesting question. When you're in a stadium with thousands of people, how will cellular data act like its signal strength? So again, only internet lease line or solution or something else is needed in such cases?
Yes, so let me try to answer that. So this is really a challenge in many times. When you have a big crowd in the stadium, the cellular network can be congested. So there are several solutions for that. First of all, in some cases, we saw that the mobile operators actually provide additional bandwidth to such events, and they put additional cellular towers and even provide dedicated bandwidth for TV broadcasters. We saw it in the FIFA World Cup in Russia, where we had the guaranteed bandwidth on the SIM cards we had, and this allowed us to have a guaranteed quality of the video. So this depends on the venue and the country and the mobile operators. In addition to that, in cases where we cannot get any priority SIM cards, we can also deploy Wi-Fi networks, and our units can also connect to Wi-Fi. And of course, always the unit can be connected to LAN. So if you have a LAN, you can connect the unit. So you need to know where the event is going to be. You need to check in advance the capabilities and what is available, and based on that, find the right solution.
Okay, if any of the packets are lost while transmitting over the internet network, how are the packets compensated? Is there any hitless technology implemented, or do we see the frame loss?
No, so this is actually part of what we call LRT, the LiveU Reliable Transmission, is that there is actually a lot of technology behind it, including forward error correction, including retransmission, including statistical retransmission, because we don't want to cause a delay, so we cannot resend a packet after we identify that it's lost. So we are sending extra packets in a statistical way so that we can replace them without any delay. And one of the unique advantages of LiveU is that you will not see the packet loss, you will not see any breaks of the video, even if the network is not so reliable. The video will continue streaming in a very high quality in almost all conditions.
Okay, so in India, we have the internet usage across almost 52% in terms of, so there's a question, how do you penetrate where broadband strength is low or poor? You know, how do you address that?
Yeah, so you need to have connectivity. We have different solutions. As I said, we have also a device called extender that can add additional SIMs. So you have like 8 SIM cards in the unit plus 6 in the extender, so you can do bonding of 14 SIM cards together. If this is not enough, you can use as well Wi-Fi and LAN. And we can also connect to IP satellite in extreme cases. If you're in the middle of the Sahara Desert and there is no internet, you can actually put up IP satellite and you can transmit over that with LiveU. So there are solutions for every kind of situation.
What are the advantages of using GSM-based remote production over existing RF or satellite?
Okay, so satellite, the main problem is the cost. And the second problem is the mobility. Satellite, usually you need a satellite truck. You need to drive it to the location. You need to reach the place. And if you're using microwave, you have to set the equipment in advance. You have to set antennas. It's usually very expensive and it's limited. If you try to cover like a bike race with microwave, you need to come a week before and put microwave towers on the mountains, and still you will be limited in specific locations because you need line of sight. So with the cellular, there's actually the infrastructure is there, the cellular towers are available, so you can move around freely and you can get connectivity from all the different towers and all the different networks. And by this way, you save cost and you get much higher flexibility.
Yeah, may I just add to that? And what I can tell you that, you know, for what I'm seeing, even in Champions League matches production, when you do the normal production with the regular cameras, but in the end of the match or before the match, you can see quite easily using LiveU for the interviews, for the post-match interview, for all the flash interviews, press conferences. They are all using LiveU to complement the existing production. So we can see it in different ways. Yeah.
Can the live production and content management / multi-cam archival happen over cloud in case we do not have a studio on premise?
Sorry, can you repeat the question? I didn't get it.
Can the live production and content management / multi-camera archival happen over cloud in case they do not have a studio on the premise?
Okay, so LiveU has the ability to put a receiver, or what we call a decoder, on the cloud. So we can get all the live feeds to the cloud in a very low delay. We have been working with a few companies that can do production on the cloud. So you need to have, this is not something that LiveU is providing, but we have partners that are doing that you can do switching, graphics, editing, everything can be done on the cloud as well.
We have a very interesting question from a filmmaker. He's asking, you got some breathtaking visuals and technology. I'm working on sports content as a filmmaker. Have you helped any film producers doing any sequence in feature films based on sports, any language?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think that the best answer I can give you on that one is that if you saw the challenge of going in the marathon under 2 hours, there was a documentary following this specific event. And in this event, the producer, the director of the documentary, wanted to capture live footage from the event itself. So he didn't use the actual cameras that were following the event. He was using LiveU to learn about the movement of the athletes and the race online and live with the LiveU equipment in order to produce a better documentary, which will probably come out soon. And that's one usage of the LiveU for the film industry around documentary in sports.
We have another question from a broadcast engineer working for NEP. He's asking, how do you color grade your cameras to match the broadcast standard?
Yeah, that's done with what we call the IP pipe. Okay, we open an IP pipe, which practically allow us to again, it depends if the camera is IP-based camera and we can connect to it, then we can control all the shading, the colors of the camera remotely with the CCU, with the camera control unit.
Okay, I'll take the last couple of questions and then we almost are running out of time. When you're in a stadium with thousands of people, how cellular data will act like its signal strength? So again, I think we've finished that. We have a question on, I want to use the system into some film cameras like Alexa LF. What is the output signal and how can I record the raw files of 4.6K? Is there a possibility to do that?
Yaal?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
Yeah, so there's a gentleman who has asked that he wants to use the system into some of the film cameras like the ARRI Alexa LF. So what will be the output signal and how can he record the raw files of 4.6K?
So LiveU units have two different interfaces for video. One is SDI and the second is HDMI. On both interfaces, we can support up to 4K P60 transmission. So the video goes into the LiveU unit and LiveU does the encoding. If you want to do to record raw video, you cannot record it on LiveU, you can record it in the camera. And we also have a capability to do file transfer. So after you record that, you can take the SD card or put it on a laptop and connect to LiveU unit, and we can send very large files using our technology. But if you connect the video directly, then the LiveU units will do HEVC encoding to the video and will record the encoded video, which is compressed compared to the raw video.
Okay, can you live stream directly to online CDNs or social media like YouTube, Facebook Live?
Yes, so as I said before, we have a cloud decoders. You must have a decoder because you need to do the bonding. You need to take the different packets coming from the different networks and stitch them together. So we have a decoder, but we have them in the cloud, and we provide direct streaming to any CDN, to Facebook, to YouTube, and to any CDN without the need of any physical server.
Okay, now I would like to come to the last question. Can we also use LiveU backpacks as backup to main feed?
Yes. So this is one of the use cases we see a lot, is that people who still want to have satellite or fiber but want to have a backup can use LiveU also as a backup. Of course, it can also be used as the main, but I think it's a very common use case to use LiveU as a backup, which reduces the cost significantly.
Thank you, gentlemen. That was a very interesting session. I would now like Pranali to take over.
So Ophir, can you just put the slide of with the contact details?
Absolutely.
So just 1 second, I'm just for you guys. I apologize, we don't have time to answer all of the questions, but you have here the emails of Ophir and Ranjit. Ranjit is our country manager in India, and we have a team in India that can support you. Also, I forgot to mention our partner ARK, which are part of LiveU here in this session. So you can feel free to contact ARK, to contact Ranjit, to contact Ophir with all of your questions, and we'll be happy to follow up, to let you try out our equipment and to answer all of your questions via email.
Yes.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yes. Thank you so much, Yaal, Ophir, and Manoj. I think that was a really great session with some really good knowledge sharing that happened on the subject. I hope all of you attendees enjoyed that one. To end things evening, I would once again like to thank our partners for this session, LiveU and ARK Infosolutions. Their support is so invaluable to us in the show and the industry, and it's these relationships that are formed that are truly treasured. Thank you all for logging in today. Follow us on all our social media platforms. The information will come up in a bit. And yeah, for more updates and on the show on our future webinars. Stay tuned, stay safe, and take care. Thank you, and have a very good evening.